and welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, June 12, 2018. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. Grade 6 students across SVG continue to celebrate their achievements in the 2018 Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment Examinations, the CPEA. In the results released yesterday, the Ministry of Education reported a 2% increase in this year's pass rate, with Christian Giowasing of the Kingston Preparatory School topping the ranks with an average of 95%. In this report, Nikita Tony speaks with the principals of the Georgetown and Chumaka government schools, who each had one student placing in the top 10.
10 performers in this year's CPEA examinations are distributed across 7 primary schools. Yesterday, we spoke to 4 of the top performers and their principals. Tonight, we hear from the top performers who attend the Chumaka and Georgetown government schools and the St. Mary's Roman Catholic School. The Chumaka community is currently celebrating the achievement of their very own Krista Williams, who was one of the 3 students to tie for the 3rd position overall in this year's examinations. Having placed in the top 10 for the first time in over a decade, principal of the Chumaka government school, Bobsy Joyet, said she and her team will continue to put measures in place to have their students performing at their best.
Krista, we expected that. We really expected her to do well, so it was not something that surprised us. We are basically following a pattern, looking at the things that are changing, and we are adjusting our strategies. We are upgrading ourselves. Teachers are being trained and retrained. The thing is that we have parents who are coming on board. And I think that is key.
The school's top performer, Krista Williams, said she was indeed overwhelmed by her achievement.
Well, I did not expect to place this high. I was hoping to get into the top 10 at least. It was just right. There was some challenging questions. Some of them were easy. It was like a balance. It will be very exciting, and that I will be able to try out new things and make new friends.
On the windward side of the island, Micaiah Gums put the Georgetown Government School in the limelight for yet another year, as she placed 2nd overall. The school's principal, Paula Blake Tony, said Micaiah's performance stands in line with the school's already high reputation.
She came into Georgetown School. She entered this institution at the grade 2 level. Yes, and then on, the class would have been very competitive. And I think that really helps her to stay focused and work harder. Another student, a boy, placing 6th for boys and 14th overall. And we have about 5 more for coming within the first 100 to prepare the children for life. So what we do, during instruction, we take them through the process. And what we get at the end of it, whether internally or externally, is the end product.
In the Kingston area, the St. Mary's Roman Catholic School also had 2 students placing among the top 10. They are Gianna Stapleton and Faith Cambridge, who both tied for the 6th position overall. In the individual subject areas, Mandela Grant of the Beckway Anglican Primary School received the highest score for maths with an average of 94.67%. Azaria Kamajong and Asia Neverson of the Windsor Primary School both had a perfect score of 100% for science. Language was topped by Azaria Kamajong of the Windsor Primary School and Kiara Hazel of the Lower B Primary, who both scored 100%. Adia Daniel of the St. Mary's Roman Catholic School topped the Social Studies examination with an average of 88%. This was the first year that the Social Studies subject was administered as part of the CPEA examinations. Nikita Tony reporting for SVG-TV News.
Education Minister Sinclair Jimmy Prince said while he is pleased with the overall CPEA results, his department will continue to ensure that more steps are taken to help a larger percentage of students attain good results. Speaking in an interview with the Agency for Public Information earlier today, Minister Prince said that there is a tactical move to improve the pass rate of males who have not been performing as well as the females.
Really satisfied with the results this year. Of course, we've moved up about 2.8% over last year. Last year we had about 85.3% passes. This year 87 point something percent. What pleases me a lot is the fact that the boys have done better than they're accustomed to do. I've always been appealing since I became Minister of Education for the stakeholders to ensure that the boys are not marginalized, that they take this thing seriously, that they go into the professions that they wish to go into, that they don't just sit and lag behind the girls. And I hope that this is a signpost that things are about to change with respect to the males and education here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Generally, some schools have done very, very well, some have improved, but we have some at the bottom of the table that we have to deal with.
The Education Minister said that they will also be reassessing areas that have been implemented, such as the Social Studies exam and the Early Learners Program, to help remedial students.
We also have a situation where mathematics and English, people, they pass, yes, but their grades are not as high as I expect it to be. We have to work on that. Right now we have a early learners program in the primary schools, which is supposed to do remedial work among the students. And if this gets going quickly enough, well, it's on course already, but if we hurry up with it and we are able to roll it out in all the schools, I think we're going to do much better. And the educational revolution would get a fillip later on. I heard about the complaints. I haven't got a chance to look at it in depth, but I suspect that it didn't do too badly. These children didn't do too badly as a result of that. In fact, we improved.
Also commending the successful CPEA students was Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. Speaking on Star FM this morning, PM Gonsalves said that he is pleased with the steady improvement in the performance over the years.
I want to join you in congratulating the students who participated in the CPA examination and for the improvement in the results. I note that there has been a steady improvement since the CPA was introduced a few years ago. I think 2014 it might have been. I could be corrected on that, but it's and I have the results in front of me between 2014 and 2018, and we see results which are steadily on the rise. Yeah. Certainly this year is better than last year. I'm pleased also to see that there's been not only improvement among the girls, but also improvement among the boys, though the boys still lag a little behind the girls, in as much as the girls 93% met the required standard, and for the boys it's almost 82%. So the boys still have a little more to do to catch up.
The Prime Minister also praised educators for their work and noted that a sound family structure is also a contributing factor to students doing well.
I want to congratulate the teachers, but also in the families. I think that when you look at the students who perform well, I think you will find, broadly speaking, a common thread between good leadership in the schools, good teachers in the classes, not just in the CPA class, but the one preceding, the two preceding. In other words, good quality teachers along the way, so that while the CPA teachers will take the brunt of the credit, clearly their preparation is a few years in the making, the students' preparation, and of course.
PM Gonsalves, however, expressed disappointment at pessimists whom he said are trying to discredit the achievements of the students. The Prime Minister also noted that he is pleased that many of the rural schools are performing well.
Georgetown hasn't only come within the top 10, but Georgetown would have had another student in the top 15 or top 20. Georgetown has been performing above the average. You know, one of the sad things is is that we have these performances and you have the naysayers. I've seen a couple of them. They've been drawn to my attention. I didn't see them myself, have my attention by some people on social media. It's grade inflation. It's lowering of standards. You know,
yes.
So we're talking about excellence.
Yeah, man.
Huh?
Yes.
Well, let's celebrate these young people. I mean, let's give them all love. Let's not make them feel that they're not performing well.
Opposition leader Dr. Godwin Friday also expressed congratulations to the successful CPE students. On radio on Monday, Dr. Friday encouraged those who have passed the exam to continue to do well and those who didn't not to give up.
Feel that somehow that it's a bit of relief that they can get back into some of the things that they would consider to be fun, more so than studying and preparing for exams, you know. But I hope that they're satisfied with the work and the effort they put in, and the parents are very, very happy about it. I see there's a youngster here from the Lobe Primary School, Kiara. I must mention her because she's somebody I know well. She
okay.
Kiara Hazel. She got I think she got 100% for language. Yeah, she and Azaria Leah. Very good, Kamishong. Very good, excellent performances, and I know that the parents and the teachers are very proud of the performances of all of the children. And for the parents who are they have to now go out and reward them with their for all their hard work and encourage them to go on and to do well in secondary school, because they're starting over in a sense here, and they will need all the encouragement that they can.
Patsy Ann Garway, counselor at the C.W. Prescott Primary School, is encouraging fathers to join the institution as it examines ways to improve the lives of children. The school is preparing to host its second Fathers Conference, which will take place on Thursday, to be held at the French's House. Garway said last year's conference was organized out of a desire to fulfill the needs of students and to bring fathers closer to their children. She said the school is hoping to build upon last year's success.
This year, 2018, we are continuing the work. The work is continuing. And so the objectives for this year are to continue to work on equipping fathers to become better mentors and role models, to discuss ways in which fathers can actively and productively spend quality time with their children, to identify practical ways of becoming involved in students' academic and social life, and to set up a steering committee to monitor and plan ongoing activities for the fathers. Also to bridge the gap between school and home. We also want fathers to develop a mindset to intentionally impact the next generation in a positive way.
The school is tapping into the expertise of Dr. Renel Murray, who will be the feature speaker and will present opportunities for fathers to share ideas on how they can shape the lives of their children.
Then we're going to have a breakout session, discussion, where the fathers would come together and we discuss ways in which they can practically and actively be involved in their children's social and academic life. And then we'll have them report or have an open forum where they can air their views and so on. So this is the package we have so far.
The C.W. Prescott counselor said the event is open to all fathers. Minister of Health Luke Brown has challenged the youth to use the example of the work of the late Nelson Mandela to achieve the changes they wish to see in their lives and in the country. Brown was speaking this week at the launch of 40 Days of Activities, which commenced here on Monday in celebration of the life of the former South African leader who died in 2013. The activities organized by an interministerial committee include the creation of murals, a centennial relay, and a lecture on the life of Nelson Mandela. Brown said Mandela left a legacy of success through persistence and called on the youth to develop a similar spirit to achieve success.
With your studies, you have to be prepared not to fall at the first hurdle, or at least if you fall, to get up and to keep going. Nelson Mandela persisted for 27 years behind bars for the change he wanted to see in South Africa. And then he was able to see that change. And while he was there in prison, I am sure that he was envisioning a future in which things were different in his country. You also need to envision the kind of future you want for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, for the Caribbean, and for the wider world.
Brung added that Mandela's choice to build a society on forgiveness and reconciliation remains a beacon of hope to all leaders.
A different approach, but instead, he thought that forgiveness and reconciliation was what was important. He didn't seek to replace the white domination that affected South Africa before he was imprisoned by black domination after he was released from prison. But instead he wanted, as I said before, to establish a system based on equality and social justice. So learn how to forgive.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Sandy Peters-Phillips, took the opportunity to encourage all to participate in the activities, which will come to an end on July 18th.
Then we have a recognition ceremony to climate the activities. The top 3 groups of the Nelson Mandela mural painting will be recognized, as well as the top government agency and private agency for Nelson Mandela Dress Day. I trust these activities have excited you, because it did for me, and to share the legacy of Nelson Mandela and to participate in the upcoming activities. We look forward to your active participation. Should you have any questions, please feel free to contact any member of the local committee. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
This country's Foreign Affairs Minister, Sir Louis Straker, is advocating the need for more dialogue to help quell the tensions in Venezuela. Sir Louis, who was speaking to SVG-TV News via telephone last Friday on the OAS vote to impose sanctions on Venezuela, said that factions within the political sphere have been having internal wranglings over the general elections, and in his view, this is contributing to the economic turmoil in the Spanish-speaking country.
I do not think that we have reached the point where we can see with them in order to put pressure on Venezuela. And I'm talking about a financial and economic pressure. We have to allow Venezuela to settle their internal differences on the basis of the Charter of the OAS and the Charter of the United Nations, that there should be non-intervention in the internal affairs of Venezuela. And if we go by the Charter of the OAS and by the Charter of the United Nations, we would assist Venezuela with the internal dialogue between the opposition and the government, and see how we can bring about a peaceful settlement there between the opposing factions in Venezuela.
The Foreign Affairs Minister said SVG stands with the government and people of Venezuela and feels that developed nations should do more to reduce the political tensions there.
The problem with Venezuela, and I've told this to the American ambassador, is that they should use their influence in bringing the various factions of the opposition together. Because when an agreement is reached with the government, there are so many factions in the opposition that some would agree and some would oppose, and therefore you do not have anybody to sign on behalf of the opposition forces of an agreement for peace and stability in the country. Whereas if we use, or those who are friends of the opposition, use their influence to bring them together and negotiate with the government, then we can have an agreement between the government and the opposition. But the government cannot have an agreement with part of the opposition and the other part opposed to it. It would be no agreement at all.
Stay with us. Carnival Beat is coming right up.
All right.
The Nubian princess reigned supreme on Friday, June 8th, Joanna Nubian Princess Christopher was crowned the 2018 Calypso Queen. With only 2 years as a frontline Calypso artist, Christopher outshone 14 other competitors, including seasoned bards, to cop this year's title. Nikita Tony tells us more in this report.
Was indeed a battlefield, as 15 female Calypsonians went head-to-head last Friday, June 8, at the Russell's Auditorium to see who would be crowned SVG's Calypso Queen 2018. When the smoke cleared, it was the fairly new yet promising Layu resident Joanna Christopher, the Nubian princess, who skyrocketed to the top with her rendition of Everything Gone Up. The Calypso Queen event, which was reinstated after a 15-year hiatus, saw the likes of veteran, young and debutant Calypsonians taking the stage in an effort to promote women's empowerment and their involvement in enhancing the Calypso art form. Definitely a crowd pleaser, the new Calypso Queen delivered a great performance, which saw her utilizing members of the audience to give emphasis to her already powerful act, which depicted the hike in the price of everyday necessities.
And power gone up, the cost of living gone up, even the cost of dying gone up. Hey, 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 hey.
Christopher, who once stood as a backup vocalist, made a name for herself last year when she made her debut appearance at the National Calypso Monarch competition, where she placed third. Seen as one to watch leading into the contest, former 8 times junior Calypso Monarch Chanel McKenzie had to settle for the second position with her song Life Isn't Fair.
Notice on social media, she keep posting pictures when she does her fine dining with my child support. She collect from the court, life isn't fair.
Third place went to Felicia Nubian Empress Alexander with her rendition of Dirty Clothes Online.
Instagram, they hanging out for show. Nasty, dirty, bloody water dripping off your clothes. Yes, you have them online exposed.
Bringing some attention to the issue of public urination, the once popular soca star Denise Lady D. Stevens was given the award for the most humorous calypso with her song Only P.
But the only letters that they know is P, because people public, they moving their face, they don't care who see it. It's P in the place.
A number of the participating Calypsonians are now focusing on the Calypso preliminaries, which continue this week. The National Calypso Monarch Finals are scheduled for Sunday, June 8th, the Marsh Gras at the Victoria Park. Nikita Tony reporting for Carnival Beat.
The curtains came down on 2 rural Carnival festivities last weekend as revelers took to the streets to bring the curtains down on North Leeward and North Windward Carnival 2018. Both areas began their events on Friday, June 8th, with their respective pageants that were well patronized. The beauty pageant competitions were followed by the Juve and Evening Street Jump Up on Saturday, June 9th. Public Relations Officer of the Windward Cultural Organization, Maxwell Tadger Francis, told SVG-TV News that he and his team are satisfied with this year's activities, as he gave an overview of what took place over the weekend.
The was won by Miss Bayabu Sabrina Brown, with second runner-up being Shafika Hector, Miss Newgrounds, and Walicia Brown, Miss Georgetown came in third place. The morning of the 9th, we started the Juve at around 3:30, 4 o'clock. And I can tell you that it's one of the largest Juve that we have had in years as well. Street Jump Up started around the same 3:30 p.m. And I could tell you again, it was one of the largest turnout of patrons that we have had in many, many years. Except for a few troubles that we had at the Sugar Fest, which was like the cool down of the jump up at the Bronxtown playing field. And that also went well a little later on. Everything was back under control. The police were able to really minimize the problem there, and the fest was able to continue. I will say that we had a really successful rural carnival this year.
All right.